Just when I was starting to look at the animation side of Netflix with a little bit of hope. Just when I was starting to develop a soft spot for animated spin-offs, trolls find a way to rip all of that away from me. I don't review animated movies as much as television series, if that isn't evident enough, and there's a bit of a reason for that. I'm more invested in animation than live action, and unfortunately when it comes to theatrical features, I don't feel very excited as of lately. There have been some pretty good animated movies released in the past decade, but the more you watch them, the more washed up they feel. Regardless of which studio is the most responsible, we can all agree that a lot of animated movies feel formulated in every single aspect, from the structure to the art direction. And this very idea was the reason why I didn't even bother to watch Trolls when it was first released. In fact, I had no plans to watch it until recently when I decided to review the Netflix series, and after watching it, I got exactly what I expected to see. Same types of jokes and gag characters, same sound design, same visual style of emotional invocation and perspective shots, needless addition of popular songs, and just to add something a little extra, I disagree with the show's main ideology, which, if you want to know what I'm talking about, watch this video from Jim Gisrael. If I had to rate this movie, I would give it a generous 5 for the simple fact that I acknowledge the effort that was put in to make the animation look expensive and admirably professional, and some of the character arcs were perfectly competent. My overall impression of that movie was that it was pretty uninteresting, and I would never want to revisit, and I definitely do not see any potential for a full series, but I guess I was wrong. Oh wait, I was right, because just like its source material, the show is fucking boring. So the series takes place after the events of the movie, which I'll give them props for not driving me crazy with continuity errors. In fact, I was impressed at how Branch feels appropriately developed, in which he's more open to the idea of happiness, but he also hasn't abandoned his more cynical side, which makes sense since it's now embedded in his personality after years of it defining who he is. But at the same time, this is kind of a flaw with the series. Honestly, Branch was the only character in the movie that I had any emotional investment in. He had the most interesting background, even if the movie didn't do much to make him come to grips with it and move on in a natural way, in my opinion of course. And his cynicism perfectly contrasted Poppy's naive optimism throughout the journey they had in the movie. I didn't really give much of a crap for Poppy besides how her ideology was clashing with Branch, and I care even less for Poppy in this series. Her main ongoing struggle is to become a better queen, except this never really feels like an emotional challenge for her. She has no real expectation. It's not like her father pushes her to be the best queen she can be, and I don't think it was ever established that she lives in the shadows of her predecessor. So she doesn't really have much to prove in the end. This just feels like a painfully simplistic character struggle. And as for Branch, his character seems perfectly mature and adjusted, so there isn't really much at stake for him, and I don't really find any of them either fun or charming enough that I would want to see more of them. So at the end of the day, the only thing you'll end up really caring for is the tension between the Trolls and Bergens, in which Poppy is trying to create harmony between them. Besides the two main characters, there's not much emotional connection built that feels significant to me. King Grizzle and Bridget are fine, I guess, even if at times it feels like the show wants me to have a stronger bond with them, despite the fact that in the movie they were pretty much just tools. But the rest of the troll characters are even worse. In the movie they were just one-dimensional characters, and they don't seem to be any different here. So take into account all of these factors and add the fact that the stories have, and this is me being nice, acceptably fine premises with basic structures, you can probably imagine what was my experience. It was a complete drag. I'm not very fond of some of the color choices. Some trolls have noses with weird colors that are at times too bright, and in relation with the color of the hair, skin, and clothes, the combination just doesn't feel aesthetically pleasing to me. And I will admit this is more of a personal thing. I'm sure the combination of colors featured in this show might please someone else's sight, just not me. I also really don't like the soundtrack. I hate criticizing shows and movies for adding electronic dance music, specifically because I actually like EDM, or at least I used to love it a couple of years back. And in all fairness, there are moments when the addition of EDM is justified, like whenever there's a party happening, but then you have an intense scene that has a musical score with a dance-craving beat,
the tables! Defend yourselves!
And I just think, was it really necessary? You know, I would much rather listen to generic stock background music than this tone misplaced musical score. There are several songs that sound overly processed, including the opening theme song. To be fair, the voice acting is actually good, even if they're not the same voice actors as in the movie. Not that I really care, to be honest. And to wrap things up, the show is not funny. Yeah, that's all I really have to add. Humor is subjective, I guess. So yeah, the first few episodes have been pretty painful. If you enjoyed this show, good for you. I'm glad someone else is enjoying this show, and it actually has a higher score than Hi Hi Puffy Amiyumi on IMDb. Okay. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bye for now.